Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, Attention and ADHD coach Jeff Copper, and we're here today with ADHD marriage consultant Melissa Orlov. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You got a great tip for us today for ADHD relationships, verbal cues. Tell us about that.
Well, verbal cues is one of my favorite tools, actually, in part because they're really simple and they're very powerful, and they can be used a lot of different ways. So a verbal cue is there's a process for setting one up, and here it is.
Okay.
The couple decides that they have something that they want to change. So it might be, for example, escalating into anger very quickly.
Yep.
Okay. And they both agree this needs to be changed so that our relationship can be healthier. Okay, so that's step one. You agree. You both agree. You can't force a verbal cue on your partner.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Then the second thing is you agree to what the cue is going to be in the situation. So in this case, it might be, hey, I need a break here for a moment. And then the third step is that you agree what the response the other partner is going to have to that cue is going to be, or what both partners will have. So in this case, the partner who needs the break would stop talking and take some deep breaths or something like that, and the partner who has just heard the verbal cue would stop and give that person time instead of continuing. Mm-hmm. So you break the cycle of the repetitive pattern by interrupting it with the verbal cue. So then you've got this agreed upon action, you both take the action, and then there's some kind of a follow-up to that. Either you come back to the topic immediately if that's what you've agreed to ahead of time, or you wait for half an hour, you write a note to put on the kitchen countertop to make sure you don't forget it, all that stuff. But verbal cues are really powerful because you can use them for all sorts of situations that couples get themselves into that end up being bad interactions.
This is such a simple
Yeah.
thing, but there's so much embedded in it because the verbal cue comes out, it stops it, and that moment to pause seems to me it helps remove some of the emotional escalation that could kind of take place at that point in time and brings a little bit of a structure kind of going through that you know methodically what to expect actually to kind of manage that. And it seems to me that this over a period of time can really change the dynamic of a conversation.
Well, it does, and you can use them in other ways as well. I mean, stopping escalation is really a common way. But for example, another great way to use a cue is lots of times there are things that are happening inside a partner's head, particularly inside the ADHD partner's head, that are invisible to the other partner. So, for example, feeling overwhelmed, you feel your brain is starting to shut down, or you didn't stay in a conversation, you got distracted, and you need to get back into the conversation, but you don't know how. And a verbal cue is really great for those situations too, because as soon as the partner's brain starts to shut down, you may as well not have the conversation, right? So if you had a cue which says, hold on, I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed here, again, step back, take a few breaths, get yourself calmed down. And that also then, the response to that, I would also suggest for the other partner, should be something like thinking, okay, what is overwhelming my partner right now? What's my role in helping continue this conversation? How can I rephrase the thing?
It seems to me, too, that this could be invaluable in some social situations by just a single word to clue the other person in on what's going on. Is there something with what I said?
Yeah, and we have one of those in our family. So one of the characteristics of ADHD is not being able to easily read emotional cues from others. So in social situations, at parties or something like that, I hear fairly frequently that an ADHD partner will get off and other people will start to feel uncomfortable, and the ADHD partner doesn't realize it. So you could have even like a little touch on the shoulder, or a wink, or or something, whatever it is, something really subtle. And that cue doesn't mean, okay, you have to stop what you're doing. All it means is I'm alerting you so that you become aware of this. And then the ADHD person gets to decide after that where they go, right? So, you're not controlling them, you're just being a little
So in ADHD coach vernacular, it helps them pause, ponder before they proceed, so they get, that's where I am. I can continue that, or maybe I want to change my course in a very subtle way. And that, I like this in a social situation because now you're working together to kind of help resolve the issue, particularly if the non-ADHD person is kind of cluing in. And if they can tell that the person's maybe overwhelmed or off topic, then there might be some strategies to bring it around to make something happen just from that awareness.
Yes, and I think it's important. One of the reasons the verbal cues are such a powerful tool is because both partners view them as positive.
Yes.
I mean, if you and I were at a party and I saw you were getting off track and I did this to you, you'd think it was really rude, right?
Yep.
But because it's a verbal cue that's agreed to ahead of time, it's viewed as helpful. Now, you just have to be careful. I would want to not tell you how to respond. You get to decide that, not me.
But at the same time, I think this is powerful because for sometimes those with ADHD can be very self-aware and they might need no help, so they could actually kind of do it back and saying, I'm lost here for a second, pitch in and kind of help me out. And I see how this is a very, very positive tool that has all kinds of ramifications.
And it can be used, I mean, essentially you're working together as a team when you're using a verbal cue, and it is so helpful to redirect many situations.
Excuse me, I really see the power of it, and it was a spectacular tip. So, Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You are welcome.
Everybody, subscribe to Attention Talk video at the bottom, and we release a great tip each week. We hope you enjoy the show. Take care.